Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hello and welcome to the New Warehouse Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Lawton. This week I am joined by Sam Bacha. Sam is the CEO and co-founder of Freight Trust, a company that helps to deliver bills of lading and other electronic documentation. It helps to get your operation to go paper-free. And they utilize different technologies to do that. One specifically is blockchain. And admittedly myself, I'm not too familiar about blockchain. Blockchain is affecting many industries, supply chain included. So Sam is going to talk to us today a little bit about Freight Trust, and then also talk to us about blockchain in general, about what is blockchain, kind of give us the overview, high-level look, and then also get into a little more detail of how blockchain is being applied in Freight Trust's sense of matter, and also how it's being applied overall in supply chain and what the future of blockchain looks like as well. So, Sam, thanks so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, and I appreciate you having me on your show, Kevin.
Definitely. Happy to have you on and talk about, yourself and Freight Trust and blockchain, of course, too. So why don't you start off by giving us a little bit of a background on you?
So I'm 28 years old. We're headquartered out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Freight Trust, but we're actually in the process of moving to San Francisco by the end of this month in August. Awesome. So that's real exciting. I have my background is in economics and actually biochemistry. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting combination, let alone in the industry I ended up in, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's my background. I've worked at Amazon, AT&T. I've sold cars. I've done call center work. I've done pretty much everything that you can think of as a job. But transportation has actually been the most interesting one, just because I do have a sort of a technical background. I've always been interested in computers and programming, and this industry is just so, I don't want to say, out of date, but more like antique in terms of adoption of new technology, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Oh yeah. And I saw a lot of that at Amazon, especially more recently with the more aggressive moving into actually becoming a carrier themselves. It's just astonishing, some of the stuff that I've seen in the few short years that I've actually worked in this industry. It's always a surprise.
Definitely. So sounds like you had a vast array of experiences, but being as you're the co-founder of Freight Trust, how did you kind of come to the point of founding and I guess coming up with the idea of Freight Trust?
So originally it was from actually having a friend in the broker industry and actually booking trucking freight for Amazon and seeing detention times and seeing how just the lack of actual pursuing of these detention claims from the carrier perspective and the hassle of actually going through the entire claims process for getting that payout of detention was just, that's a huge problem. And I knew people that were literally losing money on detention just because the client was so big. They were actually sacrificing other books of sale on their business, and it was costing them money in the long term, right?
Hmm.
So it was a very interesting problem just because of the nature of shipping documents, specifically, you know, proofs of delivery and bills of lading, because there's no truly functionally legal equivalent of a bill of lading that is electronic and is actually considered the exact same as a paper-based bill of lading. So the more I dug into it, the more I wondered why, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is this not digital yet? And the more I researched about it, the more, you know, because I was actually going to law school at the time, and I actually dropped out to do this startup because we had a customer, our first customer was an ammunition company, and they actually needed paper-based bills of lading still, but they had reporting requirements. So part of just automating and digitizing the creation process of the bill of lading helped them, and we sort of spun it out and started growing the company.
Interesting. Very interesting. Interesting that, I mean, you have such, I thought before you had such a vast experience, and then you tell me you were in law school too. That's pretty crazy.
No. So I was going to law school. I didn't actually attend. Thankfully, I did not spend any money in my first year of law school. I didn't actually enroll, thankfully.
Got it. Okay.
Otherwise, that would have been even a bigger, even more financially expensive mistake, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if Freight Trust is doing well, maybe not. But so why don't you tell us, I guess, about Freight Trust and what it is, a little more detail about what you guys actually do.
So Freight Trust, you can, in a nutshell, it's like DocuTrust. It's like DocuSign for the shipping and logistics industry. It's designed for the workflow process of EDI transactions, and actually integrates with EDI, with whatever standard EDI that you're using. Even if you're using a custom one, we can integrate it. But it's based on that workflow process. So it's actually, with some of the newer platforms, you'll actually see they're trying to be the broker. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to book freight. We're not trying to do load matching. We can do visibility, but that's more of a benefit of using the product than an actual feature that we're trying to sell to people. Because there's already a lot of visibility products. There's already a lot of TMS products. Mm-hmm. There's already a lot of control tower products. You know what I'm saying? We do this one thing, and we do it very well. So much so that we can ship hazmat. We actually support physical shipping documents still. So just because you have a customer that might not want to go paperless doesn't mean you can't include them in the actual workflow process. It just changes one thing. Instead of signing on the phone, they sign, a paper document. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with that side of things, but it's still, it's designed to be completely 100% inclusive, which is something that other platforms, haven't really tried to consider as, being a worthwhile endeavor. So that's basically what we're wanting to do. And it's actually, more of a legal issue than a technical problem. So, we've spent the last 2 years fleshing all of this out.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So technology is there. Are you just, waiting on some restriction clearances, I guess, something like that?
When it goes international, so obviously you have different laws, right?
Okay,
It sort of becomes a problem of, who's going to be the counterparty to the transaction. It starts getting very similar actually to how, derivatives are traded in the financial sector. So it's could have gone to law school in the last 2 years researching this topic, because it's very, it's esoteric, I think is a good word for it. It's really nuanced. There's a lot of British law that gets involved when you start going into ocean freight. So our main focus is USA trucking. We got that 100% done. We're starting to flesh out air and ocean, but that's down the line.
Got it. Okay. So now, what is like when you go to implement this for a customer? What does an implementation look like? And is there any type of upgrades the customer needs to do, or is this something that's like cloud based? They can easily implement into their systems?
So that's a great question, Kevin. We actually do offer on-premise, surprisingly, because we do have some customers, they tend more to be brokers, want to have on-premise solutions, and I can understand why, because a lot of that information is proprietary, right?
Yeah.
So we support that, and we do have a cloud solution as well, but it all ties into the same blockchain network, which is it's a semi-permissioned private network, and has the ability to migrate over to a public network or to your own private network. Whatever you want to do, it can do that because it's Ethereum based. But yeah, it really depends which side of the industry that you're talking about, right? Brokers have different needs than carriers. Carriers have different needs than shippers. They're all doing the same business process, but they have different regulations or different obligations or different, just internal bureaucracy that they deal with. So, for example, a broker might want to have, their own quoting engine. So our integration is focused mainly on existing business technology. So we do EDI out the gate. You don't have to replace anything. This is more of a complementary system than a replacement system, right? So you're not going to have to retrain a bunch of employees on a new system. You can just show them, hey, for quoting, instead of sending a fax or an email or uploading a document to an FTP server, you just pull up the web page. Like if you're a broker, for example, you can invite as many people, shippers and carriers, to the platform. Doesn't cost you anything. You pay for it in, the licensing, obviously, but you don't have to, you're not paying for every customer that you're adding to the platform. So they can sign, it's based just like how DocuSign works, basically. Yeah. You can invite people to sign. There's a whole guided way of, initial here's your, rate quote, rate per mile, your surcharges for, fuel, et cetera, et cetera. From that perspective, it's designed to suit the needs of brokers and carriers very well, 3PL specifically.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. So you mentioned in there through the blockchain database, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit? I guess start very high level. What is blockchain for those people that are listening that I'm sure probably heard the term, but maybe not familiar with exactly what blockchain is.
So blockchain is a distributed, which just means it's a shared database in which everyone reaches a quote unquote consensus. So everyone agrees to the same records, right? Okay. And it might not seem like a very, what's the big deal? But when you start thinking about building applications, obviously cryptocurrency is the most popular application right now for blockchains. It becomes, I've heard it described as a trust engine, right? It's the one source of truth that everyone has reached consensus about and agrees to. Okay. So obviously documents like bills of lading, that's a huge benefit because now, when a driver, let's say, for example, the detention use case that I was speaking about earlier, if the driver is there for 3 hours longer than he's supposed to be, and he finally gets a signature from, the warehouse person who's just taking delivery, the consignee or whatever, that's proof that he was there for 3 hours. Yeah. Only 30% of truck drivers even try to get a detention claim payout. All of a sudden now it's completely digital. We have some services that we're planning to offer to make it an even easier process. But that's one main benefit is there's no way to mess with the data. It's immutable is the technical term. No one can change it after the fact. So it's like a piece of evidence that's been stored in, like a police, evidence lockup. No one's going to mess with it.
Interesting. Okay. So that's a really good analogy. So now each step of the way, I guess, in the process of the document sending through, it's adding to that database, I guess, of the blockchain.
So technically, it's called specifically a non-fungible token. Okay. So it's it's sort of like a cryptocurrency in that it's an asset, because technically, legally, it is a asset-backed token in the sense that the freight is the asset that it's legally the title to, hence the bill of lading. Okay. But it's not, it's strictly a business-to-business transaction. There's no speculative nature to this. So you're not going to see like, Bitcoin prices or anything like that. It's a smart contract that is a shipping document. So it actually morphs into a proof of delivery. You can do some other things that we're planning on doing down the line, like forward contracts for commodities. There's a lot of room to grow with it, but we want to get the very basic element 100% correct, So that's the primary main objective, is just getting the bill of lading 100% compatible. And by the way, different carriers have different terms for contracts. So when you set up your account, it's completely what you want, right? The basic outline is just how the system interacts with integrations like EDI and all that. That's how we built it. So it's not like we're forcing you to use our paperwork. You can use your existing paperwork. You can use your existing insurance. You can use your existing, terms and conditions. We don't force anything on carriers or shippers or brokers.
Got it. So you just kind of provide that platform that converts it into the data to carry through paperless.
Exactly. The technical and the legal platform.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. So now, blockchain, so you're using it in that sense, right? But, there's a lot of other applications, or at least so I believe there's a lot of other applications for blockchain as well, in supply chain, things of that nature. Can you speak to any of those, and how are people also applying blockchain, and what are the other, I guess, opportunities out there to apply blockchain?
Yeah, great question. Let me just ask you this: how are you going to have autonomous driving trucks with paper-based shipping documents?
I don't know. Right? I guess we have to build robots that can read.
that can dispense paper, or just stick a fax machine in the truck, right?
Yeah, which seems a little backwards.
Actually, I read the other day that Daimler, manufacturer of Freightliner and Western Star, just submitted a patent for a hardware-based blockchain wallet, cryptocurrency wallet for trucks. Okay. So there's one idea. Like if it's an electric truck, it can pull up. It has a wallet with a cryptocurrency or a payment token or whatever, and it can automatically pay for to recharge its truck or refuel the truck. That's one way.
Oh, that's awesome. That's crazy.
Over-the-air updates to software, that's another thing, to authenticate the software for, the truck's internal computers. Mm-hmm. Another use case is tracking remanufactured parts, making sure that you're using authentic parts, used parts for fixing your fleet. I'm sure that's an issue, especially in, developing countries, where maybe sourcing OEM parts is much more difficult. And it can end up, if you're not using real parts, it can end up being an even bigger mechanic bill down the line. Another way is tracking ELD records. That's sort of a weaker use case than some of the others. Mm-hmm. But the biggest use case, I think, is definitely shipping documents, without a doubt. Just because it's such a massive problem, and it's not like as we start going into the more retail and e-commerce is starting to dominate the shipping industry, right? So shipping is becoming a much more fragmented. It's all about smaller packages now, right?
Yeah. So how we optimize the best way, right?
Exactly. Distribution. Having that SKU level visibility. It's a huge problem, especially when you start working with other companies, right? Yeah. And that's another benefit. You can theoretically, if you've been using the platform long enough, and you're talking to a prospective customer, you can show that customer, hey, you can do a site analysis. in which you can prove to your customer you have zero detention times with your trucks coming in and out of the warehousing. That reduces the risk for onboarding or acquiring a new business partner, for example, right? You can prove to your prospective client that you really are what you say you are in terms of performance metrics, because you have all these immutable blockchain records to back it up as evidence. It's not just your word. You actually have hard data that's incorruptible.
Okay. And it's like the trusted source, like
source
you
of
said.
truth.
Yeah, source of truth. Yeah. All right, cool.
So that lowers the barrier, right?
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting. So let me go back to when you were mentioning about the remanufactured parts and like tracing them back, because that's one thing I've definitely heard about blockchain is that it increases the level of traceability. And when I was like preparing for this discussion, I did read something about, there will eventually be, or maybe there already is, the ability that, say, certain heads of lettuce from Walmart, there's a problem with them, like, salmonella or something like recently happened. You'll be able to like trace them back to, the exact farm that they came from, maybe like on the day they were harvested or something like that. Is that something that you're seeing that's happening already, or is that like a future looking thing?
So it depends on your perspective, right?
Okay.
Do you see that as a B2B solution or a B2C solution? Because I don't think at all customers are going to care, first of all. If there's a listeria or a salmonella or whatever outbreak, you're just not going to eat lettuce, right? I'm not gonna scan a QR code to make sure that this didn't come from the farm that happened to have it, right? I'm just not going to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because the cost benefit analysis is not the chances of me being in the hospital versus being denied the enjoyment of eating lettuce. I'll take not being in the hospital.
It was very enjoyable, right? Eating lettuce.
Yeah. But from a traceability standpoint, it's more of a after action report, right?
Yeah.
The outbreak has already happened. It might take, so I've heard like Walmart, for example, it might take 2 weeks to actually source that specific farm, versus coming down a few days, maybe with a much more higher visibility. But you don't necessarily need a blockchain for that. And like I was saying earlier, the visibility benefits is not something that we sort of advertise as a benefit, even though it is a great benefit, just because there are existing solutions, right? The main benefit is digitization. It's the back office. It's the accounting. It's the operations. It's the analytics. It's all about actually improving your business processes. At least that's what we've seen with our existing customers, and that's what they've told us. But for food, spoilage, when it comes to detention, that's something that you can actually has a hard number, because you can calculate it at the end of every month. So that's where I see it more of a benefit, rather than, assuaging someone's fears that they're not going to get, diarrhea from eating this lettuce.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah. Cause that's definitely something that I had heard. So I was wondering like how's that getting applied, but I see definitely what you're saying, in terms of the benefit of, using it the way you guys are utilizing it. So where do you see, I guess, blockchain kind of growing in the future, and that application that you're using it for now, is there expansion of that idea into different areas of distribution and logistics operations?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Honestly, I see the entire industry becoming financialized, right?
Okay.
The more and more, we still pay truck drivers with checks, right?
Yeah.
There's like, the way I see it is you're going to have digital bills of lading, right? You're going to be trucking companies are going to start offering to finance shipments soon. That's how I see the industry moving towards, offering more of a financial aspect, doing, same day payments, instant invoice factoring.
Okay.
Those are the benefits that I actually see, because this is a very cash flow, intensive industry.
Definitely.
We spend the cash up front to provide a transportation service, and it doesn't happen. Some people only pay their companies 90 days away after the fact, right? So it's a very I see the financial aspect being a much bigger draw. But having said that, I don't think Bitcoin I don't think cryptocurrency per se is going to be the driving factor. I think it's just going to be the elimination of cash, quote unquote.
Got it. Okay. So more like just electronic payment in a sense, as opposed to like actually using the cryptocurrency. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So now how did, for people out there that, I'm sure there's a ton of people that are, just kind of maybe hearing about blockchain and probably not so familiar, like myself, I will admit, I'm not so familiar with it. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. But how did you learn about blockchain, and what would you suggest for somebody that wants to learn more about it? What's a good resource for that?
So I would say if you're wanting to get into blockchain, Bitcoin's obviously, the godfather, right? It's the first. But it's limited in its applications. Ethereum, which is what we're based off of, is the, I don't know what the cooler version of a godfather would be, but that's what it is in my book, at least. It has applications like games on there. There's a lot more things you can do with it. It's a lot more user friendly. You can download in terms of usability, I thought we would be here in 3 or 4 years, and the progress I've seen in the last 6 months has just been astonishing. Really? You don't even need to have cryptocurrency anymore to interact with these blockchain networks, which is something I didn't think would happen for another 1.5 to 2 years. So it's still, I'm going to be honest, it's still sort of you need to watch some YouTube videos, probably is where I would go. Stay away from initial coin offerings. If you don't know anything about finances, it will draw you in, because that's what happened to me. And I've been in cryptocurrency for almost 7 years now. It started as a hobby first.
Yeah.
And quickly mushroomed into something completely different that took over my life. But it's here to stay. I'm going to tell you that. And just the fact that last year people were saying it's a scam, or some companies, Facebook and Walmart are wanting to make their own cryptocurrencies now.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, that alone should tell you that this is something that's not going to go away.
Yeah,
it's here to stay. The benefits are real. It just takes time to mature, right? The internet in 1994 was probably completely useless to most people.
Yeah.
Fast forward 10 years, it's like how have you not been online, right? So it's taking. So I'm just gonna say, be patient in terms of that aspect. But for business to business, we've completely eliminated the need to actually be familiar at all with blockchain technology like Ethereum or Bitcoin. It's been completely abstracted away. It's just like, DocuSign, to use the example I used before.
Yeah.
And that's very consciously, right? Because we don't want to scare people away. We don't want to intimidate people, because it's not difficult once it's been fleshed out and has a specific use case.
Okay, got it. So now Freight Trust, I mean, it sounds like you put Freight Trust in place, and you really don't, as a user, you really don't have to know anything about blockchain. It's pretty straightforward. Like you said, it's like DocuSign.
Yeah.
So now what's the future of Freight Trust look like? It sounds like you guys are growing, moving San Francisco, I guess, to be close to all the tech, right? You know, what's like the next step for you guys? You're still in growth phase with the product you have now, or what does that look like?
Just real quick, I do want to mention that we do offer white label. Your customers don't have to know that you're using Freight Trust. They can if they want to, but for us, it's all about putting the customer forward, not about putting our brand forward. We want to help enable businesses to grow and to, streamline their operations and modernize their operations. So I just wanted to make that clear. We're not here to ride anyone's coattails in terms of branding or anything like that. For scaling out, yeah, we're moving to San Francisco to be able to deliver to some larger companies that are wanting to do pilots.
Okay. So
we're actually being incubated by an incubator called Plug and Play, which has some large players in the logistics industry. I'll just leave it at that for now.
All right.
And then obviously we're always looking for interesting, business use cases, right? Hazmat has come across our tables a few times.
Okay.
That's another reason why we still support paper-based documents, but have a completely digital, back office workflow. We actually have a tool that enables you to switch from paper to electronic and back to paper. So, you can, we've tried to encounter every possible obscure and niche use case to make sure that this works 100% of the time. So it doesn't matter if you're shipping hazmat. It may matter if you're shipping nuclear weapons. I don't know about that, but we can handle petroleum. No. Thankfully, right?
Yeah. Okay.
We're very cognizant of where we're wanting to be in the future.
Right.
And that's why we are deliberate with the features and the products that we offer, because we see ourselves as being a complementary system versus just another SaaS platform for trucking or for brokers or something like that. We want to be the network for everyone.
Okay, very cool. So now if somebody is listening and they're interested in possibly looking at utilizing Freight Trust's products or getting in touch with you to learn more, how could they do that?
So you can email me. The best way actually is to email me with the subject, the next warehouse, and we'll give you 25% off for signing up, and that's courtesy of Freight Trust, and just to show our appreciation to the entire professional suite of people out there listening.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for doing that for the listeners.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. And just email me at sam@freighttrust.com. There's several ways on our website you can get in touch. As long as you mention it sometime in the sales process, or if you want a demo, we can do that. We can basically handle anything that you're looking for, except Chinese and Japanese translations right now. We're only focused on English right now. We're actually working on offering multilingual support in a few months. But right now we do have a waiting list. I will say that. So if you're just wanting to be signed up for the waiting list, you can just shoot us an email, or you can go on our website, www.freighttrust.com. And you can sign up for a demo account or to be put on the wait list.
Okay, awesome. And we'll definitely post all the information on our blog as well, and definitely put information about how you can get that 25% off with Freight Trust, and that'll all be at thenewwarehouse.com.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.